Session to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Mr. Dominic. Present. Mr. Johnson.
Present.
Mr. Pearson. Present. Wynn.
Present.
Ms. Bowman.
Present.
Ms. Piper.
Here.
Ms. Lynch. Mr. Escudade.
Here.
Mr. Thibodeau.
Here.
Mr. Cox.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Mr. Epperson. We have a quorum, sir.
Very good, thank you. This time I'd ask Mr. Dominic to lead us in prayer. Ms. Bowman in pledge.
I'll bow our head. Dear Lord, thank you for allowing us to be here today. Forgive us in our many sins and watch over, protect us, and be with our employees, be with our administration, be with us as elected officials, but most of all be with our citizens, dear Lord, the citizens of Caddo Parish and Shreveport and the surrounding area, and just praise your name and thank you, dear Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Let's face the flag. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Deja vu all over again. Can't you control her? Man, seen her husband? He tried, she's wore him out. All right. This time I'd like to invite anyone who wishes to address the commission to fill out one of these cards and enter into the podium. If you have not, this time I'd call, are there any agenda additions from anyone? Commissioner Pearson?
Yes, I'd like to add Roland D'Artes, the Executive Director of the Police Bureau Association of Louisiana, to be a speaker at on Thursday's agenda.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Pearson to expand the agenda to allow Mr. Roland D'Artes of the Louisiana Police Jury Association to address us at Thursday's meeting. We need to, everybody in favor of letting him to bring that up? Anybody opposed? Okay, that's brought up. The motion is to allow Mr. D'Artes to address us on Thursday. Is there any discussion on the motion? If not, let's vote, please. That passes unanimously. The agenda is enlarged. Any other agenda additions? All right, very good. Any citizens' comments at this time? Have no cards. Visitors, first with me have Ms. Stacy Brown with the Shreveport-Bossier Convention and Tourist Bureau.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. President Escudade.
Hello.
Appreciate you allowing me to come before you today, reviewing the budget of the Shreveport-Bossier Convention and Tourist Bureau for 2011. You've received a copy of the preliminary budget as well as our business plan for the coming year. That business plan is in conjunction with a 3-year strategic plan that we are currently in progress with. I also have with me today Betty Matthews, who's your appointee on our board. She is right over here to my right. I have some good news for you today. In spite of the economic downturn being felt in almost every sector of the economy, I'm proud to say that in Shreveport-Bossier, tourism is growing. A diversity of business with continued strong tourism and meetings, the Haynesville Shale, film industry, and global strike has positioned our community well to grow in this area. The Convention and Tourist Bureau has exercised sound fiscal and business planning, as well as responsible budgeting, to position us to take advantage of these opportunities and to build a strong, diversified tourism economy. As we all know, hard work often pays off with some special rewards. This last year, the Convention and Tourist Bureau was honored with the Louisiana Travel Promotion Association Convention and Visitors Bureau of the Year for 2009. In fact, tourism in Shreveport-Bossier is the #2 in terms of tourism economic development in the state of Louisiana, second only to New Orleans. However, since 2009 and now into 2010, we are the #1 in the state in terms of hotel occupancy. Year to date, as of the end of September, hotel occupancy was 77.1%. And according to the Travel Industry of America, Caddo and Bossier parishes received travel-related expenditures of nearly $875 million in 2009. Locally, that benefited Shreveport and Caddo Parish through tax receipts to the tune of nearly $11 million. So you can see that tourism is an economic engine for Shreveport and Caddo and Bossier parishes. The Convention and Tourist Bureau's efforts have strengthened tourism overall and specifically generated increased tax revenue for the parishes as well as the state of Louisiana. We do this through effective marketing, sales, public relations efforts, and as our official capacity of the marketing organization for Caddo and Bossier parishes. Each year we review our programs for effectiveness and study the national as well as local trends and work with an expert in the tourism industry, a consultant who works with us on the best practices in the industry. We use this to develop our plans of action for the year, along with input from the attractions, restaurants, and hotels and other community leaders in our area. Since we are funded by a hotel motel tax by the lodging customers, that is obviously our first priority, is to generate those hotel overnights. It is also critical that we make sure that our attractions continue to be whole and grow. And we have some special programs that I'll talk about in a moment. I'm a very strong believer in partnerships and that by working together we make everyone's money go further and do more to have a greater impact on the community. Some regional partnership examples include Louisiana North, which is a partnership basically from Alexandria North. We work together on some cooperative trade shows and marketing, as well as the Holiday Trail of Lights, which is Shreveport, Bossier, and Natchitoches, Louisiana, Longview, Tyler, and Kilgore, Texas. We pool our funds and work together to build bus groups to the area. To assist our local partners like our attractions and performing arts, the Convention and Tourist Bureau has a cooperative billboard campaign. We also offer attractions, festivals, and special events, marketing grants, cooperative advertising, familiarization tours, co-op brochures, trade and consumer shows, sales missions, as well as many other services to help them attract more business. Budgeted this year is a special assistance from Randall Travel Marketing. This company will be coming in, surveying our attractions, doing an attractions audit, working with them on where to go next for funding, not only from the Convention and Tourist Bureau, but other grant possibilities as well. And also looking at their marketing plans and helping them to fully develop those and utilizing some special services from the Tourist Bureau. For 2011, we are currently working on a downtown initiative at the suggestion of Fred Kent. He is a world-renowned public space planner, and some of you may have met with him when he was here back in August at our Travel Outlet Conference. He believes the possibilities are endless for our downtown, that we have really the ingredients there for a vibrant, happening downtown. We just need to build that synergy. So one thing we are doing is pooling our resources throughout the downtown area during April and May to develop programming so that when you come to downtown during April and May, you will know that something is happening on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. We'll be pooling our funds and programming that area and marketing it as well. For 2011, the goals, key projects, and action plans are outlined in our business plan, and they were utilized in developing the budget that you have before you. We have been in our current business office for about 25 years, and we have just added on a new visitor center to showcase what all Shreveport, Bossier, Caddo, and Bossier parishes has to offer. And some of you have been able to come and see that new facility, and I hope you agree that this is a great new entrance to downtown and will showcase what we have to offer, not only to the outsiders, but also our local people as well. Also included in the budget are matching funds for the Scenic Byway program. We've just completed a large kiosk in Vivian. Upcoming are the informational panels, and I thank Larry Raymond for his assistance with that program as well. We are about to embark on a new grant that is an audio-visual driving tour with about $450,000 that we'll be receiving from the federal government. This is a cooperative grant between our parishes as well as the ones around Monroe for the Scenic Byway over there. Again, Commissioners, President Escaday, I appreciate you allowing me to come before you today and would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Brown? Okay. I just have a couple, just based on what you had said. The hotel motel occupancy rate, I know is up considerably in a really good year. How much of that do you keep track, do you attribute to the overnight stays that are related to Haynesville Shale? Saw a lot of Halliburton, Schlumberger trucks, particularly at the Clarion, just loading that up. Do you know
We do have a good number of the Haynesville Shale. We're seeing our occupancy slide a little bit right now as some of them are moving out. We actually have Randall Travel Marketing will also be doing a survey of the hotels. They receive all their information about January 24th, so just after that we'll be doing a comprehensive study directly with the hotels to find out exactly what those percentages are.
Okay, so we'll know soon enough. We just don't know what kind of an impact, but obviously it seemed like it had a pretty good one.
Definitely.
Particularly the past year. Based on that, unless I misread something, your expected revenues or anticipated revenues for the year, you're expecting an increase?
We're expecting actually to be probably pretty flat this year compared to actual for 2010. But it's reflecting an increase over what was budgeted for 2010, but it'll be approximately what we actually expect to receive this year.
Based on we expect a decline in the number of Haynesville Shale-related overnight stays.
Right.
Correct. Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Thibodeau?
Yeah, just one quick question. I noticed for 2010 and 2011, you got a negative operating balance of revenue over expenditures. And you've got enough in reserve to go for a couple more years. Do you have any plans to either cut expenses or raise revenues over the next couple of years?
Actually, if you look closely, you'll see that we do budget conservatively. Personally, I would rather have a little left over at the end of the year than to over budget and have to cut back. If you'll look on that second page, right after the operating budget, you'll see that we do have a good bit of monies reserved for specific expenditures, such as the Century Tel Center marketing, the Convention Center marketing, the Special Marketing Fund. We do have some capital reserve, and we have increased our operating reserve to be a good, sound fiscal business. As far as actual ending balance, we project to end at the $586,000 this year, which is a little over 1 month's expenditure. So that is what we should be ending the balance of the year with.
But you're spending
$376,000
more than you estimate bringing in.
Right, and those are funds that were not utilized. Actually, we came in over revenue this year. So instead of trying to use them for programs this year, we're holding that money over until next year.
But you spent more than you brought in 2010 also. So I don't understand how you holding that over if you spent more than you brought in.
I never would have guessed that the Haynesville Shale would have done so well this year. So it has considerably come in over budget this last couple of years.
Anyone else? Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Lawrence Guidry.
Good evening. I want to thank, I'm Lawrence Guidry with the Caddo Community Action Agency Incorporated. I want to thank President Mr. John Escaday, and of course I want to thank Mr. Doug Dominic and Willie Wilson for getting me on the agenda today to come and talk to you about kids. When I come before you, most of the time it's on behalf of the children of Caddo Parish. This time I come asking for one-time expenditure of $40,000 for our new all-city Head Start and Community Center. We've been in North Caddo Parish now for 45 years in a location at a church in the rural of Odessa. The building itself is more than 40 years old. The repairs have gotten to be astronomical, and of course we were able to get a nice piece of property in All City, which is on the main stream right next to the town hall, for a very, very good price. And we're going to build a facility there from the ground up and own it instead of having to lease and rent, and we'll own the facility. And of course we're asking the commission to help us a little bit. It's a one-time request. We'll be able to pay for the building itself and the remainder of it with our existing operating funds that we receive from our federal funding source. And I want to let you know it's a one-time request. We appreciate the commission for all of it does for our agency and the help that you provide us, and we're asking for this one-time expenditure of $40,000 so that our all-city project, which means that the children from Blanchard all the way to the Arkansas line We'll have a facility that's centrally located. It will also reduce our transportation costs because all the children have to be bused. And of course, as you know, on the lonely rural highway, you might pick up a kid every 10 miles. So therefore, it shrinks the operating budget and the needs for the requirement to buses to travel for long distance. With that said, I'd be glad to answer any questions anyone might have.
Don't have any questions for Mr. Guidry. Commissioner Dominic?
And I know that you're asking for $40,000, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is anybody else or other entities putting up any money other than us?
Other than you will be the only entity other than what I'm going to be able to ask for in private donations.
Right.
We're going to try to, we are in process and line of trying to get some private donations also. And we have various persons who are pretty generous for giving us $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 toward projects such as something.
How many children is in the Head Start program right now?
1,641
I'm talking about just in North Caddo, in the,
72.
and y'all expect that to increase?
We're licensed for 72. Now, in this posture and mixture we're in right now, we don't think that there's going to be an increase in the number of children we're going to get because the president has announced, and of course, that they were going to have a freeze.
Right.
So therefore, we don't anticipate getting any additional. What we don't want to do is we don't want to lose any of what we got if we, and hopefully we won't.
And this is just a one-time request?
This is a one-time request.
Commissioner Pearson?
Mr. Guidry, how much was the total cost of that, you estimated to be?
Total cost of the project, $844,000.
And so you're asking us for $40,000?
$40,000. And that helps us with the bank. Chase Bank is going to give us a very, very good interest rate, we believe, or what have you, but we put a good down payment on it, of course, that just helps us, and like I said, helps us with the funding source. As you know, the commission is the grantee for Head Start, so therefore, you have interest in the facility as well as with the federal government. So it belongs to you and the federal government.
Commissioner Thibodeau? What's your operating budget for North Caddo right now?
I can't tell you for North Caddo, but I can tell you it's about $5,800 per child, $5,800 per child.
And with the new program, it will be what? Operating?
Well, it won't go up any because we're going to get all of the payments except for what we raise before we borrow. The actual final amount from the bank will come from the operating budget that exists as it is.
Okay, and of the $844,000, the majority of that's coming from the feds?
Comes from the Fed, yes, sir.
How much is coming from them?
All that we don't get from you and I don't get from private donations. So it could be $750,000, $760,000.
So if you got nothing from us and no private donations, you get $844 from the feds?
I possibly could, yes, sir.
Should have told me that. No, I appreciate you telling me that. I don't understand why you're coming to us or anybody else if the feds are going to tote the note on the whole thing.
Let me tell you why I'm coming to you. Because as a down payment, the feds want us to show that we got some local support. And in fact, they asked me in my telephone conversation with them when they told me we needed to apply for a construction loan, what local match do you have, Mr. Gibbons? And I told them the only potential that I know that I possibly would ask would be, because it's in the rural area, is the Caddo Parish Commission. Now, the city of Shreveport, for an example, on the inner city project, is giving us $150,000. And they've given $150,000, $250,000. They've given as high as $600,000 on inner city. But they won't deal, you know, when they're not mandated to give in the rural.
But they have already agreed to fund this program, to fund this new building project, whether or not.
Only if I get a reasonable amount of down payment. I got to send them a 1309. That's what's called a federal acquisition and construction application. Now I'm not going to draw any money down from you or get any money from you if you don't approve it, period.
Right.
But if you approve it, no money will be exchanged unless the federal government approves the final deal. And the federal government's going to approve the final deal based on what they see as what did you do locally to match what we're going to get.
But you did just tell me that they would probably pay for the whole thing if you got no other money.
Well, now you got to beg. And in this economic climate, I don't know, but I believe they will.
Okay.
I believe.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Cox, I believe what you're saying is a bird in the hand is, better than nothing.
Better than that.
Has the school board or the city of Vivian been approached?
We did approach the city of Vivian. We looked at several different facilities up in that area. One was an existing building that was already there, but when we got to looking at it, of course, quite naturally, now you have to build buildings after Hurricane Katrina to withstand 190 miles an hour winds. The building that we looked at that had some limits of what our needs were was not, the architects couldn't guarantee that. So we couldn't touch it because it got to be able to sustain winds of up to 190 miles an hour. So we looked at it. Then we looked at other places. We looked at other property and what have you, along where I-49 is coming through and what have you. But the city of Vivian, of course, none of the cities will give us any money, but I will say this for all cities.
It's in Oil City, not Vivian.
All cities.
Sorry.
But let me tell you what all city did. They helped us negotiate about 2 acres of land at a bargain price. At a very bargain, they helped that. Now, they also are going to do any infrastructure needs, like the water lines and all that's going to be hooked up. That's going to be on them, so we don't have to pay anything for that.
And the school board, nothing?
The school board, the Head Start is a Caddo Parish commission program. School board never offers any help to us because they think we get everything from you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else, first round? Mr. Dominic?
I just want to reiterate the question that you and Commissioner Thibodeau was talking about, that basically, the federal government is going to fund this, but what you're saying is, it really is going to help if you get some local support. It would help you getting this project off the ground. It would enable you to get it built sooner, and that there's a possibility it might not be built. You really need some local support, and obviously you're having some private donations. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, and as soon as we...
How much is the private donations totaled at this point? Do you know?
Well, right now, I got a gentleman who annually gives us about $5,000 a year. For an example, he wants to remain anonymous,
I understand.
but he gives it to the Caddo Community Action Agency about $5,000 a
It's
year.
not Commissioner Escaday, I can tell you that.
But he might.
And then occasionally you get, from the movie industry, we've been blessed to have Samuel Jackson give us a little. Caesar Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, California, through our friendship with Johnny Cochran has given us a little. Denzel Washington came through and put it, and his foundation gave us a little. Please. But they don't give you a whole lot.
I understand.
But they give you 2,000, 3,000, 5,000.
This is, something that'd be very important for our area, so I appreciate you telling me.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? I have a couple of questions, Mr. Gibby. Do you have a proposal outlining the criteria from the federal government that you could give us to show us? Basically a checkoff sheet of what they require to get this done?
I can give you a copy of the 1309 application.
Are your conversations with them concerning this matter, they've been verbal, or do you have some written communication with them?
Emails. I've got some emails, communications with them. I've sent them. First of all, initially what we wanted to try to do was we wanted to use as leverage existing property that we own as a bargaining chip to go to the bank and borrow the money against existing property. Federal regulation won't allow that.
You can't mortgage federally held property.
You can't mortgage federal interest property. You can't do that. So we have plenty of ability, but since we can't mortgage it, we had to go to what the federal government asked us to do, to apply for a construction loan. So Chase Bank is working those numbers out for us based on what our needs are, and they're going to tell us whether or not they're going to let us have the construction loan.
Basically, what the federal government's involvement in this is guaranteeing your loan.
Guaranteeing the loan. What
So
they
it's not a
want.
grant, it's a loan. You're going to borrow the money for this facility.
Right.
And based on projected funding sources, entirely through what you expect coming for the next year, correct?
We'll pay a monthly note. We'll pay a monthly note to pay the loan
Okay,
with the
so the
bank.
federal government's guaranteeing your loan, and they want to see a little down,
Right.
and you're telling us you don't have it?
I don't have 40,000?
Yeah.
No, sir, I don't have 40,000.
With as much money as y'all receive and go through there annually, you don't have $40,000? Y'all run that tight? You spend every dime, I'm just a question, you spend every dime of that? Because y'all get some heavy federal money.
Absolutely, and like I say, if you look at our audit reports that we provide to the commission annually, every dollar that we have over the budget left over, and we run a conservative operation also. We have a little surplus each year, we've had a little surplus, but every time we did that, we had $1.5 million note at purchase of facility of the Holy Rosary Catholic Church 5 years ago. That note now is down to $382,000 in 5 years. So we use whatever we have to make sure that we pay off what we owe, so therefore we don't have to have any deficits.
Okay, so it's kind of like, I want to go buy a house under the down payment. I ask my parents to give me the down payment so I can get the preferred loan, basically. Is that right?
Yes, sir. And get a correct, and get a proper...
Why don't you just borrow the $40,000 from us, pay us back too?
Well, that's
My only problem is, it's just emails and it's your conversations. I don't have anything. See, I had to take an emergency trip to Kentucky last week and cut through the bottom part of Missouri, and some of that show me stuff kind of must have rubbed off on me on the way back home. Because I'd like to see that in writing, what the government says it's willing to do, what the criteria is, and maybe what we need to do or not need to do to help you out.
okay.
I want to get this done, but at the same time, I like you, and you do a good job, but you're being real vague here. There's not enough details for me to obligate public money just based on your good name and your good word. I need to see something.
Yes, sir.
So can you get us something to see?
All right, when we formulate the full package, we'll give the full package to the commission to show what we're asking for versus what the cost for the facility is in a Form 1309. The 1309
I
is a big...
specifically want to see what the request of the federal government is regarding this, what they want, what they expect.
They want us to do a construction loan. That's what...
I understand that. What they expect you to do to qualify for that.
Okay.
Okay, I want to see what the criteria is. They say you need X amount of dollars, of community investment, of the governmental investment, and that's what you're saying you need. They want to see, fine, I want to see that. I want to see that in writing required for them as being part of the package or agreement for them to back up the loan. That's all. It's just, that way we come back and everybody knew what was going on up front.
And we have plenty of time because, like I say, it's going to probably be March before we can even...
Excellent. I very much want to support the project. I know it's needed up there. I know, Commissioner Dominic feels like they're neglected up there in that part of the woods, So hopefully we'd like to help you out. So if you could just get that, just so we can
Be glad to
make
do that.
a good decision, I'd feel more comfortable.
Be glad to do that.
Anyone else? Would you like to speak, Erica?
Yeah, I would.
Indulge yourself.
I just want to communicate to the commission, I don't know if you all aware that I am on the board of the CCAA.
Sounds like a conflict to me, so be careful what you say.
No, that's why I'm letting y'all know, just to let you know that I am on the board of CCAA, and these items have been communicated to the board, and we have discussed these during the board meetings. I just want to let the commission know that.
Thank you. Mr. Thibodeau.
I'd like to move that we table this request till such time as we get the necessary paperwork that was requested.
Second. Seconded that we table this matter until we get more information and allow us to take it up and seriously consider it. Is there any discussion on that motion? Commissioner Pearson?
About what are we talking about?
Well, I hope to hear something from the bank on the construction loan before Christmas. What have in terms of what they're going to be able to let us do. In terms of borrowing money from them in the pay. Then I have to take that to the federal government. And when I say that, that's the Department of Health and Human Services, Administrative for Children and Families, Dallas, Texas, in the form of a 1309. And that's where when you're purchasing a major renovation project or purchase of a facility or building of a facility. So it'll be with a construction loan. All I'm saying is that by word of mouth and not by email, they asked me how much was I going to be able to get locally.
How much you going to be able to raise?
So I'm going to ask them what I actually need. I think the figure is I'm shooting for trying to get 10% of the total cost. That's what I was shooting for. not from you, but from the various different sources. That's what I was trying to ask it to get.
So you think we can get that within a reasonable amount of time? Because when did you plan to have the project, break ground on the project?
Well, don't have that because I have the design of the project, I have the land acquisition in place to do when we finalize the loan with the bank. But the timeline is fluid because of the fact is that I had to complete the reverse courses for 4 months on the project when I started the project back last June or July, getting real detail in with it, and getting with the mayors of the area up there, and particularly with the All City mayor. Well, the federal government had told me to proceed with the purchase of the facility. But then they did the double step about 3 weeks ago. I learned you can't mortgage federal property, so you've got to go to the construction loan. So we've been in the construction loan process about 3 weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Dominic?
I got one question, Charles. Can we table this, or should we table it? I mean, it's not an agenda item, it was just for discussion. Does that make sense to you? I guess my point is there's really nothing to table, because we were just discussing this. Nothing's been brought before us to table.
Good point, yes.
My point is, there's nothing to table. We'll do our best to get the information and bring it to y'all at a later date.
I mean, we've been given a request.
Yeah.
I mean, the request was made for 40,000.
But we couldn't act on it, I'm sorry. But we couldn't act on it today anyway. Because
I don't know how we do it, let's just wait till we get the information, that's all I want.
The simplest thing to do is if Commissioner Thibodeau's motion is to, in effect, the will of the body, I think what the substance of that motion is that an ordinance to appropriate the money is not going to be placed on the agenda until the commission gets the information that satisfies us.
Of course, I was going to put an ordinance in effect, or before the body at some time, and I don't want to do that until, y'all have a chance to look at it, but I'll vote, I vote to support the motion to table it, because there are questions.
Mr. Cox?
That's basically what I was just gonna say, the motion is to give this gentleman enough time to bring back the information that we're requesting before we actually send it to the floor for a resolution.
For the ordinance.
Yes.
Commissioner Bellman?
I just have a question. I don't see this as an agenda item,
That's what I was saying.
so how can you table
That's what I was saying.
something that's really not a resolution or an ordinance that's listed on here? Just,
You really
Question.
can't. It doesn't hurt anything. It's a moot point. I think the intent is that Commissioner Thibodeau is trying to make is that we do not want an ordinance on this matter to come before us until we have the information that can answer our questions to this. That's all. So if he wants to restate his motion, that's fine, or just have it down on the record that we're not going to entertain an ordinance on this until we have that information, then that's fine. You want to restate your motion?
We delay an ordinance for such time as we have more information on the request.
The second on that, seconded by Commissioner Cox. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, let's vote, please. All right, that passes. Thank you, Mr. Guidry.
Thank you.
Next, we have Shawana Watley and Destin McDonald. Please come forward, state your name and address for the records.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, Commissioners. My name is Shauna Watley. My address is 12 Willow Marsh Lane, Bowie, Maryland, 207.
Good afternoon, President, Commissioners. My name is Dustin McDonald. Also with Shauna and Lynn Cutler, who's about to be on the phone. My address is 729 8th Street, Southeast, number 20003.
Well, hold up till he gets that.
No, Charles. I'll tell you why it's not.
Yeah, title of meeting, what
Okay, well, hopefully you two know what you're doing, and so
We'll move forward.
let's proceed with it. Let's move on, please.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to present to you today. Once again, my name is Shauna Watley. I'm from the firm Holland & Knight. I'm a partner with the firm. My colleague, Dustin McDonald, is also a senior colleague, and we just want to talk to you a little bit about our services as it relates to federal government representation. Holland & Knight has over 1,100 lawyers. We have 100 areas of law that we practice within 17 U.S. cities. We also are an international firm, and in your presentation, you can see some of the countries that we also have offices: China, Mexico, and United Arab Emirates. Just to go over our firm a little bit, we're a small firm, culture, but obviously a large firm. We have very talented and experienced people. We're a bipartisan firm. We're well represented on the Democratic and Republican side. We have policy expertise and we have a large reach, a long reach in Washington and the White House, as well as the Congress. We have a very large and active PAC. We're skilled at all levels of representation. We have very strong folks in the policy arena as well as the political arena and lobbying. We represent several local governments across the country, and we think that we could be helpful to your federal priorities in Washington. We cover federal appropriations and grant funding. Over the last 10 years, we've been able to secure over about $2 billion in appropriation funding. And over the last 4 years, we've been very successful in bringing in over $1 billion in grant funding. Given the current environment in Washington, it's very important that local governments start to look at federal funding as it relates to grants, and we can be very helpful with that. We also, what we have today in your presentation is just a quick outline of some of the projects across the country that we've been successful in securing funding for. Just to give you a little bit of background on me, I am once again a partner at Holland & Knight. I used to work for Senator Bob Perry from Nebraska, where I'm originally from, and so I have extensive experience in working on Capitol Hill. I used to also work for the U.S. Conference of Mayors. I ran their small business program, so I work with cities across the country in helping secure funding for small businesses and to make their cities more small business friendly. I also used to be Director of Congressional Affairs for the Democratic Leadership Council, so I worked with several of the more conservative to moderate Democrats within the House and the Senate. I worked very closely with your Senator, Senator Landrieu, and her office and staff. And so I have extensive experience in working on both sides of the aisle because I used to work in Texas and I used to work with the Dallas delegation, which is primarily Republican, as you would know. So we try to be well balanced at our firm. We try to, provide excellent representation and making sure that we bring to you the appropriate opportunities for what you need in your jurisdiction. Dustin is going to go over a little bit about his background as well as some of the projects that we've been able to work on over the last few years, as well as grant opportunities that we kind of see coming in the near future.
Hi, everybody. Again, Dustin McDonald. I joined the firm Holland & Knight about 8 years ago after working for a Republican member of Congress on the Hill. So like Shauna, I have extensive background in working on legislative issues. My primary work was related to transportation and working to assist local governments with local transportation projects. That work has morphed since I came to the advocacy side to working with local governments on a wide range of issues covering public safety, health and human services, housing and community development, as well as water infrastructure and transportation infrastructure. And getting back to what your first speaker had mentioned about hotel occupancy, playing a lot of defense on local government programs and trying to oppose federal mandates on local governments. There's a movement right now, for instance, to try to, among the online travel companies, to try to keep the funding that's currently being directed to local governments from hotel occupancy taxes, to divert that money away so that locals wouldn't get that tax anymore. So that's one of the things that I work on. But one of the areas that we've kind of shifted our work towards it, Sean and I have worked to specialize in over the last couple of years as the federal government has moved away from directing funding so much through the annual appropriations process and more through competitive grant opportunities, is to assist local governments in approaching the federal grant process so that they're successful. A lot of times, even though local governments will participate in the grant process and compete for various grants, they may not be positioned well to adequately compete for those grants. There's quite a bit beyond just simply applying for the grant and submitting your application that needs to be done in order to be successful, and that's one of the areas where Shauna and I have really kind of taken a lead. And in terms of opportunities that are available across the different agencies, they really are as broad as you could imagine, covering all those different issue areas: public safety, telecommunications reform, housing, community development, transportation, and water infrastructure. There are grant opportunities in each one of these areas kind of offered by each one of the departments and agencies, and our expertise is really helping local governments apply and successfully win that funding.
In the back of your presentation, the beauty of Holland and Knight is that although we would be your core team, myself, Dustin, and Glenn Cutler, you have access to our entire firm. And so one of our partners, David Whitestone, who was on the Appropriations Committee staff and is a strong Republican, he would be a part of the team. Catherine Lehman would also be a part of the team, or anyone else that we would need to make sure that we meet your priorities in Washington. So we have, like I said before, we have a small firm culture, but we have a long and deep reach into making sure that we secure and can prioritize your issues, funding issues, and make sure that we can bring some money back home to your parish. Do you have any questions?
Mr. Cox?
Well, you can tell y'all your firm's been in Washington too long, because you mentioned Republican and Democrat so many times.
Well, you know.
that, you know, on a local level down here, we look at what you can do for each person, not the party. So I'll let that go. Grant-wise, tell us somebody in close to here. What's your biggest grant that you've gotten somebody close to here, or in a population our size of Caddo? Give me an example.
Well, I guess in terms of grant funding, I mean, immediately, I guess I'm just thinking of different grant opportunities. I guess where we probably had the most success with higher dollar amounts of grant opportunity is probably with the Department of Transportation. That's simply because there's been more funding directed by the administration into DOT for grant funding as opposed to other agencies. While there are local government opportunities through EPA or through HUD or through the Department of Energy, they typically have been in smaller amounts, where the DOT has been larger. I guess the marquee grant program for DOT right now is the Tiger Grant Program, and I think I know we have secured some funding through that. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how much, but I know that we have secured some money through the Tiger Grant Program, which is incredibly competitive. I think there was $600 million available for the Tiger Grant Program nationwide. That's for all transportation across the country nationwide. And I think they received something along the lines of over $2 billion in funding requests on that $600 million that was available. And the fact that we were successful in securing some of that funding speaks a lot about our relationships at DOT and our ability to kind of maneuver local governments through that process. But I can find some more specific information and give it to you if you like.
One of the, we were having a conversation with Mr. Wilson, and he was explaining that you all were looking at building a new water facility.
That was my next question.
And I work with the North Georgia Water Planning District, and we've been able to secure over $20 million for the North Georgia Water Planning District. So I think we could be very successful and helpful in helping you to maneuver through that process and try to bring home some.
How long did it take you to acquire that grant funding for that water project?
Well, we've been working with the district for over the last 5 years. So, you know, each year you bring in a little bit through the appropriations process. So I would say over the last 4 to 5 years, we've been able to accumulate up to $20 million for them.
And last question, how are you structured as far as your scale price, as far as how much you charge us?
Well, that's negotiated. It depends on the size of the county, what you all are willing to pay, and then...
We're not willing to pay a lot.
Well, we understand that, it's tough times for a lot of local governments, so we tend to negotiate and work with you on that end.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Explain to me something. We're talking about these DOT grants, $600 million, and get $2 billion in requests. This amount was appropriated by Congress?
I'll take them.
Right. Okay. And then from there, it goes to the Department of Transportation. And are you saying it's allocated by application?
No, it's a competitive grant process. So, I mean, what DOT is doing is taking a look at all these different projects that they're presented with, organizing a list of finalists, and then trying to work with those finalists to...
I'll take them.
Okay, so how do they rate those list of finalists? Is it based on critical need, economic assessment, political pressure from congressmen and senators? I'm going to find out how this process works.
Well, a little bit of all of that, actually, to be quite honest with you. But, it depends on, we were listening to your conversation prior to us, and it depends on the local match, how much the local government is willing to put in for the project. Depends on if it's shovel-ready. Each grant has different criteria, but, it depends on how much, you'll get in return for your money. They run all kinds of different numbers. But, it's really... And also, if your congressional delegation is behind the project and is willing to carry the water to help assist with trying to get the funding.
Okay, well, all right. Assuming that our congressional delegation is behind, say, a particular request we had, funding has been appropriated, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's just a matter of who's going to get the money. And obviously that lays in the hands of bureaucrats. This is what you're telling me? Pretty much?
It does, but I think the point that Sean and I are trying to make is that that's where we have some expertise.
They have a rating system, I'm sure, right?
There is.
Let me ask you, is it a fair process, or is it really primarily political?
I think the politics certainly plays a role in it, but...
What percentage?
Is it an election year or not?
For whom? Us or them?
Politics certainly does play a role, and I think that where you find that you have a congressional delegation that's more engaged and behind and supportive of a project, that project certainly has a better chance of being successful in securing that funding. I think another piece of it is that we've noticed across the board with a lot of these different grant programs, regardless of what agency is administering it, is Congress is in the same position that a lot of local governments are, in that they have scarce resources. They're coming to a realization they have scarcer resources than they thought they did. So now they have to try to maximize the resources that they do have available to make the most use of them. So as you're looking at organizing some of these projects, Congress is looking for you, when Shauna describes talking about a local match, Congress is looking at you to be able to organize and command some kind of regional support to the project. They want the projects that they support to be multi-jurisdictional, to at least have a multi-jurisdictional scope so that multiple communities can benefit where possible. In the sake of transportation, obviously you're looking at transportation benefiting communities with congestion reduction, with, giving folks better access to public transportation, those types of things. But that's kind of the nexus, I guess you could say, in terms of how these programs are linked.
So would you say at this time that are people more competitive than in the past, the governmental entities applying for these grants, or less?
More, definitely. So
So
particularly...
you're saying they all, for example, have their match funds available?
Well, the ones that...
I would think not.
Well, the ones that put forth the application, it's required, the match is required, at least a 20% match is required. So you don't even move up the chain unless you have the match.
Well, given the state of the economy and everything I hear about, states and local governments and cities and all struggling, it seems like there's fewer people that have the resources to do that. There are fewer entities. Is that not true?
Well, you're right about that. I think that there are a lot of local governments that are cutting staff and are not in a position to be able to apply for these grants, but at the same time, with the limited resources that are available at the local level, you see a lot of local governments, despite their lack of resources, trying to make an effort to apply. Now, they might not be able to put the best grant application together, but they're making an effort for sure.
What would you say, what are the strengths of the grant application then? It's local congressional support, a regional impact, being able to produce, your stake in the game, and what else? What's missing? Prayer? Your expertise and influence? I
think the federal government, especially in the area of transportation, is really trying to work to, for instance, they've got a transportation reauthorization bill coming up. It's a 5-year bill. It's supposed to be $500 billion or something.
It's double.
So they're trying to figure out how to pay for this bill. And in the area of transportation, I think the federal government is also looking to try to bring in the private sector where possible. So what the Fed is primarily interested in, I think, as you approach these grants, is one, yes, you need to demonstrate strong congressional support. You also need to be able to demonstrate that you have a strong regional commitment to the project so that you have local resources and, where possible, regional resources committed to the project. And then, of course, if you can draw on the private sector as well, that's where they start to look a little bit more favorably on your application. They want to see a strong commitment to the project so that their share of the project, while it might comprise a large piece of it, as Shauna mentioned, the average is usually about a 20% local regional match that they require. They're going to cover 80% of the total project cost. That could be significant. That could be somewhere in the realm of $300 million. But they're going to ask you to try to satisfy a $20 million share in whatever ways you can, and also be able to demonstrate strong local and regional support.
And you're indicating to us, well, maybe not, or is it my assumption that someone throughout your firm, you have individuals that have intimate relationships with all of these bureaucrats over all of these different entities that sit on this money?
Actually, we do. What we would do if you were to hire us to represent you, we would go through your list of priorities, and then when you come up to Washington, we would go through what those are, schedule meetings for you to go in and sit down and talk to the folks in the different agencies to talk about your project, to see what it is that you need to do to improve your application so you have a stronger opportunity to actually win a grant. And then we also work with your congressional delegation to make sure that they're putting in the calls, that they're writing the letters, that they're contacting, if it's the president or Secretary LaHood, so that it improves your chances to be funded. I used to work, as I said, I used to work in Dallas, and I was over federal relations for the Dallas Area Rapid Transit. And trust and believe, that was not an easy project to get funded, simply because we were trying to convince members in Washington, congressional delegation and authorizing committees, that people were willing to get out of their trucks and ride a transit train. So, and so that requires a lot of work, and, making sure that you're crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's, and ensuring that the business community, the local officials, the citizens are invested in this project. And we were successful at doing it. So it can be done. It's just, it takes a team effort.
Okay, in that scenario that you just said, basically, I don't need you to do that. And I'm not being critical, because if we were to use your services and we had a specific project that we wanted to apply for grant, with matching funds or whatever, then I would expect that someone in your office would help us with the application. It would be rock solid. We wouldn't have to sit down with these department heads to find out how to make it stronger. That's your job.
Well, yes, but they like to talk to the elected official as well. Of course, that's our job, and we would help you carry the water, but they also like to talk to the elected officials to make sure that everybody's singing from the same hymnal.
Okay, fine. At the same context, we could. My point is, where do you really come into play? We could sit down without you. As far as talking to a congressional delegation, they generally talk to us because they have to be reelected every few years, and they certainly would rather have our support than not. So I'm trying to find out specifically what you can do that we can't. And then I want to follow up with that. I want to ask you one question. See, if it's that good, and we're project specific, we don't need to borrow tons of money. We generally have our match and then some for anything we need. We're in a little better shape than most papers. That's why you're here. I'm sure you look at, at Moody's and everything else, and there's no point in going trying to farm, in rocks and hard dirt. And there's some fertile soil over here. So when we're serious about a project, we have what we need, the resources available to go for it and at least do our part. So if it's just relying on the government to buy into it, that's fine. We can have all our ducks in a row. So what is it that you do specifically that we can't do? And secondly, if you're that good and knowing that we can carry our end of it, are you willing to work on a recovery basis? Like my attorney. It's just simple.
Well, to give you an example, just recently we work with a very large city and they have a major project. And they need an additional $40 million to complete the project. But what we were able to do is look through the budget to see what money had been appropriated or had not been appropriated, to see if there was an opportunity for them to get some of that money to go toward their project. And what we did, we were able to find money in the budget that had not been spent by
You're talking about the federal budget? Or that agency's budget, that department's budget?
That department's budget that had not been appropriated, had not been spent, that was going specifically for this type of project. So they had over $185 million that they had not spent, and we needed $40 million for our project. So we picked up the phone, called the city administrator, said, look, we found some extra money, we think that we can get this, we need to get the delegation behind it. We called all their members, we had the mayor call the members, the congressional delegation picked up the phone, called the secretary, and it looks like that they're going to be able to secure the additional funding that they need for the project. What we're here to do is to help you to facilitate the process in Washington, to make sure that you have access and understand the different opportunities for federal funding that's available. Appropriations probably will not look like the way that it has in the past. Typically, we would be here saying, we walk you through the appropriations process, we can help you guarantee that you get so many dollars for your projects.
Those days are gone.
Exactly. So what we're here to do is help you find additional funding resources within the federal process that can get your projects funded. We may be able to get in the Senate, they didn't have a moratorium on earmarks, so there may be opportunities to go through Senator Landrieu, for instance, because she's on this appropriations committee, to get funding for the parish. If not, there are other opportunities out there, and we're here to help you to walk that journey.
And borrowing off what Shauna said and kind of responding to your question a little bit more is, in terms of kind of the expertise that we offer, we understand that you can certainly apply for these grants, and you can sit down and discuss with the members of your congressional delegation what these grants are and ask for their support on them. You can certainly do that. I think what we provide, as Shauna alluded to, is an expertise on each one of these individual grants, where we have a comprehensive understanding of not only what the congressional mandate is for the grant, if money was appropriated for this grant, what Congress is asking you to satisfy, but also what the administration had intended when it organized the grant, and the way it's being administered, and the contacts with the folks at these administering agencies and departments that you can talk to be able to tweak your grant proposal so that it does fit with exactly what they want. And then, of course, in terms of advocacy and working with your congressional delegation, again, you can certainly contact them. But I think what one of the services Shauna just alluded to in her example was we understand the correct timing of when contact needs to be made and when they need to be engaged, and we can help you work to corral that to the benefit of your project.
Very good. Commissioner Baker?
I just wanted to ask about the grant process. Writing the grant, how much involved would you all be into actually writing the grant for the projects you're soliciting for?
It depends on the local government that we're working with. We typically do not write grants. We will look at your grant and review it to make sure that everything's in order. But typically, the local government has a grant writer that will write your grant, and then we'll review it to make sure that we're including everything that we need to include.
What about the search engine? Do you all have people that will actually be looking for funding for us to be conducive to our needs, or would we have to be the one looking for it?
No, absolutely. Oftentimes, different departments within counties or parishes know what type of grants that they're looking for, but we have a very comprehensive file with all the grants that come out of each department. So whether it's defense, transportation, HUD, health and human services, labor, treasury, we know what's out there, and when we sit down with you all to go over your priorities, then we know what to look for and say, you know what, this is a grant that we found, you might want to consider this.
We also monitor the federal process from year to year. For instance, the administration will propose new grant concepts in each budget it submits to Congress in February. So as the process moves forward with the federal budget each year, there may be new grant opportunities as there are this year. So we have been watching these grant opportunities as they've developed in congressional legislation, and in some instances weighing in to tweak them in favor of local governments in a certain way, so that when they do roll out, we will have already been aware of them and had contact with whatever the administering agency is on the grant, so they'll know that you're in the game.
One other question on appropriations, when the time for the votes to go in on appropriations, will we have any representation in the actual room at the time of the votes for appropriation to maybe speak on behalf of Caddo Parish?
Well, Senator Landrieu is on the Appropriations Committee, so she's obviously in the room. We won't be in the room when they're deciding what's going to be included in the bill, but we know what we've submitted. We make phone calls. We have relationships with the clerks, with each committee, the chairman. We make sure that our folks are looked after. So we have strong relationships on those committees to make sure our projects try to get funded.
So you're actually going to attend some committee meetings?
Oh, yeah, we definitely attend the
And be a
committee
voice for
meetings
the
that are open.
Caddo Parish?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Next, we have the administrator's report. Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir. Mr. Escudé, President Escudé, Commissioners, we just have two items today. Let me give you a little quick update on Toys Top. So Dennis James to come forward and give him a presentation on that.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. It's that time of the year again. At your stations, I put out a little brief notice that Toys for Tots are coming up again. The Employee Council, in conjunction with the Registrar of Voters, the Juvenile System, and the Commission's support. Once again, it's time for Toys for Tots, and we will be doing that on the 16th of December over at Moffett Moffett Volkswagen. Excuse me. We'll be arriving at 6:30 in the morning, and the Marines will be there at 7. Last year, the employees and different members, we filled up 4 Volkswagens with toys for local kids. And these are brand new toys that have never been used. They're still in the wrappings. As of right now, we have placed donation bins in each department throughout the parish. I spoke with some members over at the Juvenile. They've already collected several bicycles. This has been a very good turnout for the employees. So far, the Caddo Commission has given the largest donation every year by any organization in the local area. And we have challenged other local organizations to try to catch us or match us if they can. And we're just wanting to invite the commissioners, if you can, to come out and be with us that morning. And it's going to be a live radio broadcast like it is every year. And we usually have the administrator and Mr. Lucky, and we've had a couple of commissions come out in the past, and so we'd like to extend the invitation to the commission today to meet us there on the 16th.
What time morning is it?
We'll be there at 7 o'clock, but we'll start arriving at 6:30 a.m.
You ain't playing golf, I know where you're gonna be.
I'm retired. People don't get up that early.
You're tired, okay?
Tired, man. I don't get up
He's just
that
tired.
Tired and retired.
early. And retired. I got some money, but you can't get some money.
So we just wanted to give you an update, and if you have any questions.
We have any questions, James? Thank you, James.
Thank you, sir.
We have the meeting.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, sir. President, this will be the last item is the Union Pacific Railroad crossing will be opening, scheduled to be opening on this Wednesday at Shreve Industrial Park. I know there's a lot of interest on that item. We've been tracking this pretty closely, so I think this is a reliable date. We'll be opening 3 railroad crossings throughout the city.
No,
Closing 3 and opening 1. So that will all coincide on Wednesday.
All right, thank you. Anything else, Mr. Wilson?
That's my report, sir.
All right, anyone have any communiques? Pardon me?
Got one.
What?
Just wanted to thank Larry Raymond and the Caddo Parish Commission work crew, everybody that worked with the fireworks display, Christmas on Caddo. Everybody did a really good job. Everybody went to that. We had a really good turnout. The weather was great. Fireworks was really great, and appreciate all the sponsors and all the help that everybody gave to get that done.
All right, thank you. Any other communication? If not, we'll move on to new business. Clerk?
Ordinance number 5058, amending the capital outlay fund to transfer funds from remodeling of the fifth floor of the Caddo Parish Courthouse to a new project for renovation for the 4th floor of the Francis Dickin Building in the amount of $926,000 for the year 2010.
We have a motion to move to Thursday. Moved by Commissioner Pearson, seconded by Commissioner Lance. Any discussion on the motion, Mr. Thibodeau?
Watching Globo, ordinance 5059, 5060, 5061, 5062, and then resolution number 76, 77, and also the very last one, authorize approval of North Louisiana Criminalistic Slab Commission, their operating budget. Everything except numbers, except for resolution number 75. And I'm leaving out those that are under resolution 77. I'm putting only 77 in the
Motion is to englobo line items 02 through 06 and 08 through 9.
and 10.
And 10. You got a different agenda. I don't have 10. Oh, 10. I got it. I'll leave it there. Is there any discussion on that motion?
Why,
Pardon me? Yes?
why'd you leave out 75?
Want to hit individuals.
I want more information on it.
Any other discussion? Vote to englobo those motions? All right, those passed. Next, we will have and take up Resolution 75, which authorizes the administrator to execute an agreement with Carrington International Corporation and NACO for dental plan. Commissioner Lynch is not here. Mr. Administrator, would you care to explain what, do you know what Ms. Lynch's purpose and intent here is?
I think so. This is a program similar to the discount drug cards that NACO offers to citizens of the parish. This will be a dental provision that's offered by NACO, through the Carrington Company, for discount services for dental services.
Okay, what's the parish's obligation, participation?
Our obligation is to post the materials into public facilities, and the contact will be between the person desiring the service and Carrington Company at all, and we won't get involved in the process at all.
My job is just to get the word out.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thibodeau?
That answered my question.
Yes.
I was going to say,
Ms.
move
Baker?
to Thursday.
Anyone else? Baker has moved that we move to Thursday, seconded by Commissioner Pearson. Any discussion on the motion? Please vote. That passes. Next item.
Authorize resolutions of amendments for Lance Corporal Dakota Ray Hoos.
I moved by Mr. Thibodeau. Seconded by,
It doesn't matter, everybody's gonna say.
LBJ over there. All right, any discussion on the motion? If not, please vote. That passes. Next item, please.
Authorize resolution of recognition for Dan and Stephen Logan, cotton producers from First Bell Cotton, through Thursday.
Moved by Commissioner Dominic, second by Commissioner Lynn. Any discussion on the motion? Vote, please. Very good, that passes. Next item.
Authorize Ms. Beverly Johnson and Ms. Joyce Johnson as visitors for Thursday to make a presentation.
So moved. Thursday. Moved by Commissioner Lynn, seconded by Commissioner Baker. Any discussion? I have some. Anyone tell me what this is about?
Yes, well.
How long they want to talk? Anybody know what it's about? Who are these people? What do they
I
want?
don't know what it's about. I would just ask Commissioner Epperson couldn't be here today, and he just asked to move those issues to Thursday. That's
Strange time of year to have this kind of mess.
Commissioner Epperson, listen to him talk.
Now there's somebody wanting to sell us something.
Yeah, there's sales and marketing, so you,
Those poor old dummies down here in Kettle Ferry. All right, any other discussion on the motion?
let me ask you this, could this be something that the administration would look at between now and Thursday?
I would think several of these things, like one of the things we sat through today, that the administration would be the ones that facilitate the initiated action on this. As by charter, it says that they should ferret these things out and bring them to us. But, you know, he can screen it and decide whether it's worth our time or not, rather than us have to sit here and fall asleep and realize it's not worth our time within the first 2 minutes of the presentation. It's just my personal feelings and opinions, though, however. I've had enough, so I'm not going to support this one, but vote how you want. Let's vote. That passes. All right. And
Authorize Mr. Roland Dartez, Executive Director, Police Jury Association, as a visitor for Thursday.
large agenda that's been moved by Commissioner Pearson, seconded by Commissioner Lynn. Any discussion?
Sound like you are.
Let's vote, please. Mr. Dartez can speak. We'd like to
You're
hear
gonna
him.
bring something this time.
Anyone else? You're adjourned.
Yeah, make sure Roland brings us something this time.
NGL